The next thing we need to do is add the structural floors to our house. And in order to do that, I'm going to zoom in here on our basement level. Next, I'm going to come up here and execute the floor command. Now, whenever we're going to be talking about the structural floor, what we're going to be drawing in is actually two separate floors, one floor on top of the other floor. Now, the reasoning behind this is that whenever you're building a building in real life, you have a structural floor that goes around the inside of your exterior walls. And then at some later point, they come in with a secondary flooring material, such as carpet, vinyl tile, wood, whatever the case may be, to go over the top of that. I like doing that same process inside of Revit. One, because, well, that's the way they actually build it in the field. But two, and probably more importantly, is that it's easier to edit a floor constructed that way. If, let's say, we know that there might be a change in the carpeting material from one spot to the wood material, maybe in that same spot at some point in the future, maybe because of cost considerations, maybe because it would look better. So as a result of that, I like to have two separate floors because it's easier to modify initially as opposed to after the fact. So I'm going to select here where we have our floor options, and I'm going to choose, in this case, the 4-inch concrete floor. Next, I need to change this to basement level. I'm going to change this height offset to be 0 feet 0 inches, or just type in 0, and that's going to put our basement floor slab down at the appropriate level. One other thing that I'm going to change is I'm going to clear this box out that says extend in the wall core. I don't want this particular floor that we're drawing to change our walls in any way. And if we had extend in the wall core checked, it would make a modification to our walls, and I don't want that to occur. Now the next step is to zoom in here. And I will point out that the current command, whenever you execute the floor command for the first time, is almost always pick walls. Now, if I try to pick walls here, it's always going to try to do to the outside of these walls, and I don't really want that. I want to just do it from this point on around. Now, technically, I could click on extend in the wall core, and it would allow me to pick here really nice and neat, but it still doesn't really pick where I needed to go quite right with this particular kind of floor. So I like to use this line tool here and just manually draw from one corner to another, and just kind of connect the dots all the way around the exterior of our foundation walls. In this case, I'm going to pick the first spot that I can grab a good intersection of, which is right here. And I'm going to draw over to the left. And from here, I'm going to zoom out and zoom in, just picking intersection points of these foundation walls all the way around the perimeter of our building. Come down into this corner here. We'll move straight up to here. Move over to here. In this case, I'm going to come over to here so that we have a nice smooth transition to this door and where the walkout's going to be. I'm going to come over to here, click again, and then finish it up by clicking from here down to here. Now, if you've done it right, when you click the big green check mark, it should place your floor in. In this case, we have our structural 4-inch concrete floor. And I'll zoom out so you can see how the entire basement level now has a nice solid foundation associated with it. Now, the next thing we're going to do is I'm going to go up to the first floor and do the same thing. Except, of course, it's not going to be a concrete floor up there for our structure. It's going to be some wood joist floor. I'm going to use the floor command again. In this case, I'm going to pick wood joist 12-inch. And once again, I need to draw around the perimeter of our building. But we're going to pick in a slightly different location this time. So I'm going to make sure that extend in the wall core is checkmarked, because in this case, we will actually want it to make a modification to the walls. And it's also going to allow us to pick on the actual core face of these walls, which is in this case, is going to be actually on the outside edge of this wall. And we will be using the pick wall tool. So I'm going to click right here. You can see where it puts that pink, purple, magenta, whatever color you want to call that line work. And we're going to just click the outside edge of that, going all the way around on these walls. Going to do this wall as well. Pick up near where the siding is at. Now, the change that's going to be made to these walls is that because it's extended the wall core is checked, and we're going to be saying yes to a question that's going to be popping up here in just a moment, is it's going to actually cut some of the material out of the walls so that the walls themselves are going to be sitting on this structural floor. Due to the type of framing that we're doing with this building, that's appropriate. The outside wall should be sitting on top of our floor structure, and then that floor structure is going to be sitting on the foundation walls down below. So once you have that continuous line going all the way around, click on the big green check mark. It's going to ask, and this is the question, do you want to cut that material out of the walls? And we'll say yes to that. Now, if we've done this right, and we'll know it if we go into a 3D view, so just go ahead and come up here to the little 3D house. We should be able to see the floor here. Should be able to see our structural floor down here in the basement area. And if we spin everything around, we shouldn't be able to see any of our floor just extruding out on the outside of our building. And in this case, it's not. So we have our completed floors here, and we're going to use a similar process in order to put in the actual finished floor materials here in an upcoming exercise.